Greetings and salutations, YouTube family and friends. T-Rav Vlogs here. What's up, guys? So having experienced the conventions that I had, I started to notice that the fandom was losing its luster with me for a while. Now, conventions themselves were still really fun. I enjoyed seeing my friends, seeing all the costumes, getting to participate in all the activities that we'd done, but overall, I was starting to lose touch with the fandom as a whole. It was time for something different. Something to rekindle my love for the fandom and for costuming as a whole. Today, on Convention Memories. Quite some time ago, I shared my story about how I came to be in the furry fandom, from just being interested in the costuming antics to the back and forth between furries and trolls and whatnot, all the way to joining the fandom myself. Now, all this was going on while I was still attending anime conventions and helping build the group cosplays that we were doing and basically diving headfirst into the local anime convention scene. And throughout that time, as I stated in the intro, things just kind of started to turn stale. I was using the same costumes I had been using. I really hadn't watched any new series that had given me inspiration for a new costume, and really I was just kind of spinning in circles. I was really just going through the motions of wearing the costume to wear it because I was at a convention, and I really wasn't getting very much fulfillment out of it at that particular time. So I figured, since I had done all that, it was time to start shifting my sights to a different fandom. And what better fandom than the one that I was researching, the furry fandom. So right then and there, I decided I'm getting a fursuit. But then I sat and thought about it for a little while, and I said, wait a minute, I get way overheated really fast, so maybe a full suit isn't exactly the best thing for me. So I'll get a partial. And then I thought about it again and realized I did not have the resources to make that kind of a purchase that soon. So I opted for something completely different. Once again, went online, did a little research, and I found a company called North Fur Effects, and they specialize in different prosthetic pieces, hoods, and other sort of costuming accessories for stage plays, costuming in general, all kinds of interesting little things for, I guess, a professional look, if you will, with these types of prosthetics that you can glue to your face and get this illusion that you're something completely different. It was an option that was quite a bit cheaper than commissioning a fursuit, and honestly, for just starting to get my feet wet in furry costuming, I figured it was probably going to be best for me. That way I didn't have to jump headlong into it. If I didn't like it, then I could always backpedal and, well, it was something I tried. It was not for me, so I'll just go back to whatever I was doing. So I got in touch with them, got everything set up, and I got myself a particular prosthetic piece, ears and everything else. Now, while I was getting involved in the furry fandom through talking with friends and playing around on Second Life, I developed sort of fondness for skunks just because, they were fluffy, the big tails were cute and everything like that. So that was going to be the species that I went with. So after a short wait time, comparatively speaking, I had a costume ready to go. North Fur took care of me, and then I had my friend's mother, who had put together Kurama for me, take care of making some hand paws and some sleeves and a tail that we could prop up behind me with some wiring and whatnot to make it kind of stand on end. I did a trial run for Halloween, took it to a bowling event. That was a lot of fun, trying to bowl and all that stuff, but that's neither here nor there. So I did a trial run to make sure that the costume was going to work for me, and by Anime St. Louis 2011, or Tornado Con 2, as made reference in the previous video, I was ready to go. I put on my prosthetics, and I had my first attempt at a furry costume. And I have to say, the reactions from the con-goers were quite interesting. Everyone was very engaging with me. Now, throughout the years, fursuits had been a common sight in anime conventions. The furries in the area didn't really have a convention to go to because the St. Louis area didn't have a furry convention to speak of. There was one down further south in the Branson-Springfield area, but none in the immediate St. Louis area. So for them, any convention was a good convention, and luckily Anime St. Louis was always welcoming to other fandoms, any sort of pop culture really. It wasn't just anime or video games, it was American TV and movies and pop culture, comic books, superheroes. Pretty much, if it was part of nerd culture, it was welcome at Anime St. Louis, so they always had a place to come and congregate and be welcomed. So people were used to seeing the full suits, but they weren't really used to seeing what I was doing. So a lot of people were very interested in how everything came together, why exactly I was doing it, all sorts of things like that. So it was a really positive experience. I even got the chance to meet a couple of other fursuiters because, you know, furries being like-minded and whatnot. So made a few friends there, and overall it was quite a pleasant experience for sure. The biggest drawback was probably the about 2 hours prep time that it took to get everything ready, from the gluing of the prosthetic onto the face, to the face paint, getting everything together, and then having to return to the room every once in a while for touch-ups because either the glue didn't stick, or I moved my mouth too much and it popped a seal, or the costume malfunctioned or something like that, so having to go back and do that. It was a little bit of a pain. It was certainly an experience. I'm glad I got the opportunity to do it, but it wasn't without its drawbacks. So with that sort of experience under my belt, I decided that the next year I was finally going to take the leap and get a partial fursuit. So I went with the studio at the time called Mushi Magic Suits, had them commission me a skunk head. So that was the very next year at Anime St. Louis 2012. I decided to bring my suit to that convention. And interestingly enough, by that point in time, the furries had decided that they were going to run a panel at that particular convention. They had been frequenting anime conventions for a while, so it was about time that they let some of the other fandoms know what they were about to see if anybody else might be interested in wanting to join the fandom. Who knew? New recruits possibly? So because the panel was going to be happening, there were quite a few more furries at this particular convention, simply because, well, as I stated before, there were no other conventions, so this was all they really had. So getting my feet wet with the fursuiting experience at a convention was quite interesting. Had a couple of flub-ups here and there, but all in all it was a really fun time for sure, getting to interact with other fursuiters and other con-goers, of course. The anime con-goer scene wasn't exactly as interactive this time because, again, everybody was used to seeing those types of costumes. I didn't have my prosthetics this time, so it wasn't something completely different. It was, oh, well, it's just another fursuiter, so whatever. But it was still all good. I got to have my interactions, still made some friends, and when I went to the furry convention that night, I happened to meet a couple of people who were at the door checking badges, who were dressed as Joker and Harley. And these two may look familiar to you. This was the night that I was formally introduced to my friends Bob and Brandy, and we all know how that turned out. So my involvement in the fandom, going to a panel that night, led me to meeting them, to building a friendship that I will always be grateful for. So I guess thanks Furry Fandom for introducing me to Bob and Brandy? So on my way out of the panel that evening, we stopped, we talked for a while. I think it was till about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. So we really hit it off for sure. And on the way back, a couple of other furries had made mention that there was a small group trying to get a furry convention in St. Louis off of the ground because everybody had been going to these anime conventions and pretty much having their own little separate fur meets at these conventions. It was probably time to start a furry convention so that way all of the area furries had a place to congregate instead of just always having to kind of piggyback off of other conventions. Not that those conventions weren't fun, just something to concentrate solely on one particular fandom. So if all that was true, then if a furry convention ever did start in the St. Louis area, then I was going to be ready for it. So there we go. Don't forget, if you guys like what you're seeing, don't forget to subscribe down below, hit the little notification bell so you can be alerted when I post a new video, and you guys can get involved in the conversation, as we always do. Were you one of the furries who went to Anime St. Louis simply because it was the only convention in the area? Were you one of the con-goers who enjoyed the furry presence? Did their presence unnerve you some? Let me know in the comments below. How did you feel about the intermingling of fandoms in the conventions in the area? I always thought it was something that kind of enriched the convention experience because it wasn't just one thing. It kind of picked from all the different fandoms and pop culture and whatnot. But hey, that's just me. You guys have your own takes. I'd love to hear about them in the comments below. We can have a discussion about it like we always do. I love hearing from you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I always enjoy when you stop by my little corner of YouTube and check and see on how I'm doing. And you guys just stay safe out there. But for now, that's really all I have to say about that. So until next time, I'll talk to you soon and take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.